Hello everyone, hope you are all doing good. In the last classes, we have covered up until now the three major challenges faced by Indian economy, and they were poverty, human capital formation, and rural development. We took up all these three issues individually and discussed in detail. Next challenge which we are going to take up is employment. Being such a largely populated country, this is one of the uh, challenges before India to provide employment, to provide job facilities to all, whether it is some technical job or some manual work or whatever. So we have different kinds of workers in our country, ranging from casual workers to most formal jobs. We have a variety of employment conditions in our country. So we are going to look into the insights of employment conditions in our country, the nature of participation of men and women in various economic activities in various sectors. We are actually going to know the nature of employment as well as the nature of unemployment. If the people who are unemployed, what is the nature of their unemployment? In which type of uh, conditions they are actually unemployed? Which type of unemployment they are facing? Also the extent of unemployment in our country. Though in NCRT and even Sandeep Garg, the data which you all find will be pertaining to the last census which was conducted in 2011 and 12. So most of the data you will find relating to that, but whatever latest is still released, we will take it as in when we'll discuss that. Also, we are going to understand all the basic concepts in this chapter relating to employment, economic activities, workers, who all are actually included as workers, workforce, and assess the initiatives finally which are taken by the government in generating employment opportunities in various sectors and regions. So here we start chapter 7 of Indian economic development, that is employment. Okay. So employment, the meaning actually is any activity from which a person earns means of livelihood, a means of living. From wherever we earn our means of living, that is employment for us. So people do a variety of work. So we work in factories, we work in schools, offices, banks, shops, and a lot of other places. People also work from home. Nowadays it is like quite common to be working from home. And work from home, here I'm not counting the one which is non-monetary, for which you're not paid. That is work of lot of ladies, in fact, who are working in the family, and they're not paid for it because it is difficult to evaluate the work they are doing. It is difficult to evaluate its monetary value. So the work from home does not include that, but it includes the one which is actually paid. So it can include any traditional work like weaving, making footballs and all. Also the picture is there in your book. You can see a lot of MNCs, they place orders for making footballs, and a lot of women in Jalandhar and all, they are making footballs and supplying the output to these MNCs, and then MNCs under the tag of their branded company, they sell these products. Also they weave, lace making, or variety of handicrafts. Other variety of handicrafts also are counted as working from home because they are paid. And nowadays modern jobs like programming, work in the IT industry is also counted as work from home. All the people who are working in the IT industry, they are still working from home these days, so it is counted. Earlier, factory work meant working in factories located in cities, whereas now technology has enabled people to produce those factory-based goods at home in villages. Now, the question is, why do people actually work? Why we all work? What is the purpose? Because we want to earn a living, because we want to earn money. Okay, that's the most basic reason for working, because people want to earn money. But sometimes a lot of people, they inherit a lot of wealth from their ancestors, their forefathers. They get to inherit a lot of money so that they don't have to ever work for it. but still they are working. You will not, you may find a lot of people who are working, but they still have a lot of wealth at their places, like at their homes also, or whatever. Their net worth is so much more that even if they stop working, they will not starve for food, they will not die of short of money. They can still spend more than what we are doing. So it is not that people are working only to earn a living. Sometimes it also helps us know our self worth. It gives us a sense of achievement. It enables us to relate meaningfully with others also. And whenever we contribute, so see, a worker, all the individuals who are earning in some economic activity, to earn a living, they are that's called a worker. Any individual who is involved in some economic activity to earn a living is called a worker. Like, I'm involved in this teaching activity, so I'm a worker. And every working person contributes to national income by engaging in economic activities. So we all are somehow contributing to the total income of our country by working. And we do not only work for ourselves. Actually, sometimes people also have a sense of accomplishment when they fulfill the requirements of those who are dependent on us, who are dependent on them. Like, so many people are, like youth, they may be working, and then they might not be spending all their income on themselves, but also on their grandparents, or maybe the parents who are not, who have stopped working for now because of the old age and other factors. So in that case also, even if we are earning, the real meaning of your earning a living is not just spending it on ourselves, on our food, but also providing all the living to all those who are dependent on us. And having recognized this importance of work, even Mahatma Gandhi, since that time only, he insisted upon education and training through a variety of works, including craft. There is one quote he said once, like, what I object to is the craze for machinery, not machinery as such. The craze is for what they call labor saving machinery. So, what he actually meant is, if you keep on saving labor, so thousands of people will be without work, and they'll thrown on the open streets to die of starvation. So that's how he highlighted upon the importance of education and training, and finally working through any craft, whatever skills we have embodied up in ourselves. So we have a variety of workers: doctors, barbers, farmers, managers, cobblers, shopkeepers, laborers, etc. So if we study about the working people in this chapter, what will it help us? It is going to help us to know, to get an insight into the quality of employment in our country, and finally the nature of employment in our country, what kind of jobs people actually do in our country, all that, and what are the conditions in which they work. Also, this will help us to address many social issues such as exploitation of marginalized sections of the society, child labor, etc. Because unless and until we are going to study about our employment conditions, about our country's employment conditions, we'll never get to know how many children are working, and are deprived of the education facilities which they should be getting in this age, and all that. So all the people who are involved in the economic activity, they are workers, they are earning a living, and all of them are contributing to national income. Some are contributing big and some are contributing less, but everybody is contributing, every worker is contributing towards national income by engaging in their economic activity. When a farmer works on fields, he or she produces food grains, raw materials for industries, cotton becomes cloth, and textile mills, and in power looms, lorries, they transport goods from one place to another. And the total money value of all these goods and services finally gives us GDP of the country. Now, who all are counted as workers? Who are actually going to be all the people we are going to count as workers? Okay, we learned the definition that everybody who is engaged in the economic activity is a worker. Now, it also includes the people who are temporarily abstain, that is absent from work due to some illness, some injury or other physical disability. So you have a temporary off from your work, maybe due to bad weather in your particular area, you are not able to join the office and everything. Festivals, you have taken some festive break in your particular families, this particular festival is celebrated, so you have taken a break for that. So you are temporarily absent from work, but you are still counted as a worker. Or maybe some social or religious function in the family or in the community, these people will still be called as workers. Also, who help the main workers in all the activities, in all the economic activities, whosoever help the main workers, they are also counted as workers. Next, it is actually, we generally think of only the ones who are paid by an employer as workers. No, not only the ones who are employed by some employer, like who are working under somebody, are workers. We also, the people who are self-employed are workers only. So workers, like even if your father is a businessman or your mother is a businesswoman, so they are still be called workers according to economic point of view. So not only when you are a salary employed person, you will be called a worker. Even if you are self-employed, you will still be called a worker in economic terms. So all these they are workers. Somebody who does manual work, somebody who does office work. That can be white collar job. This is blue collar job. Person who works hard, like some IT job and all, and member of the working class, upper class, middle class, or any working class it can be. Okay, looking at the nature of employment in our country, we just get to see that it is multifaceted. How it is multifaceted? Because not all the people are, enjoying the similar conditions, similar working conditions, and not only conditions, the tenure of their work also differs a lot. How some people get employment throughout the year, like whether it is January or June or December, they have work with them. Some others get employed for only a few months in a year, for example, seasonal workers. They can be anybody, like the landless laborers. They are basically seasonal workers because they are only employed when there is work in farming. Then there can be construction workers, are also sometimes seasonal workers. Sometimes they don't have work for the entire year, but they are only employed for a few months in a year. Usually they are not employed during monsoon and all, because construction work, all it comes to a halt when it is rain. Painters and all also, sometimes they get employed for only a few months in a year. Many work, especially during Diwali time, and many workers, they do not even get fair wages for their work. But while estimating the number of workers, all those, whether they are employed throughout the year, whether they are seasonal workers, or whether they are not getting the fair wages for their workers, all of them are going to be included as employed. And that's how the employment rate in our country, appears to be big. Because even if you are, selling some small diyas, let us suppose, at a stall, and you are just sitting the entire day and waiting for your customers to come and buy some diyas from you, but your body had a lot of more energy to do some other works as well, you will be still called employed by the government. Okay, so that's how the employment rate appears big, because all those who are underemployed, all those who are excessively employed, like they're not required, all those who are seasonally employed, they're all counted as workers they're all counted as employed in our country. Okay, talking about some facts about number of workers in our country, and again the facts relate to 2011 and 12. During this year, India had about a 473 million strong workforce. So all these facts are from 2011 and 12 because NSSO conducted that entire survey, the National Sample Survey Organization, in its 68th round on employment and unemployment conditions in our country. So and that's when the big census was conducted in our country. So majority of all the facts will relate to this year. So during 2011 and 12, and the next census is actually going to happen the next year, 2021, and government this year is going to plan it through app-based counting. There will be a mobile app, and they have a target to complete it by 2021. But now we are in this crisis, COVID-19. Let's see how things are going to work. So during 2011 to 12, India had about a 473 million strong workforce. And since majority of our people reside in rural areas, yes, that's 70% population. So obviously, the proportion of workforce in residing there is going to be higher. So we have 473 million strong workforce, like the people who are actually actively contributing to national income. But taking into consideration this large population, which was around in 2011 to 12, which was around 1.27 billion. So in that case, it is still less. Rural workers, out of this 473 million, rural workers constitute about three-fourths of this, like 75% of this entire workforce is coming from rural India. So you can imagine their contribution towards employment as well as towards GDP of our country. And about 70% of these 473 million people in our country, 70% of the workers, they are men, and only 30% of the workers are women in these 473 million. Okay, this figure also includes child laborers in respective sexes. That is, 70% of the workers are men. This includes like male child laborers also. And the rest 30% are women. This includes female child laborers also. That's when we have this, 473 million strong workforce. That's how we have it, because in India, a lot of children have to start supporting their families at a very early age. Women workers, they account for one-third of the rural workforce. So whatsoever is the total rural workforce, which is the three-fourth of 473 million, out of this, in this total, in the 75% of 473 million workforce, one-third of the rural workforce is actually women. So in rural India, one-third of the women are working, and the remaining it is two-third. Two-third are men. In urban areas, women workers are only one-fifth of the workforce. That is only 20% of the total working population in the country was in 2011 to 12 women workforce, only one-fifth of the total workforce. So just taking all the facts once again, during 2011 to 12 we had 473 million strong workforce, and out of this 473 million, the majority is in rural areas because we have majority of people living in rural areas. So obviously, and three-fourths of this 473 million is are rural workers, and the remaining 25% are urban workers. Out of that three-fourths, one-third of the rural workforce is constituted by women, and in urban areas it is one-fifth of the women who are contributing to the total workforce. And about 70% of the workers in the entire country are men, and the rest are women. 30% are women. So it is 33% in rural areas, 20% in urban areas, and if we see the entire country, it is 30% if we talk about women workforce. Now, there is a term called labor force, what all it includes, who all it actually includes. Are you a part of the labor force of our country or not? Are you the part of the workforce of our country or not? Let us just see this. Now, labor force, it includes all the working people as well as the ones who are seeking work. So all the working people, it means all the ones who are employed. Labor force includes all those people who are employed. So it includes all the ones who are seeking work also. It means they're available for work, but they're looking for it right now. So that category is actually called unemployed people. So we can say, in short, it is the total of employed people and unemployed people. Employed will be counted as all the working people, and unemployed will be who are all seeking work. Now, if we talk about you students, you people are neither working, like you're not working to earn a living, nor you are seeking work. Like you must have not, dropped your resume somewhere or got your name registered in the employment exchange of the country or somewhere else. Like you must have not told anyone to find you work so that you can start earning. But if you have, then you are seeking work, then you will be called, counted in the labor force of the country. You will be a part of the labor force of the country. But if you are not doing that, like all those who are available for study, like who are still continuing with their studies, all the housewives, and also the people above the age of, in fact now we actually take it 64 instead of 60. We actually take 64 now. So children above the age of below the age of 15 years, they will all be called child labor. They are not going to be counted in the labor force of the country whether they are working or not. And adults above the age of 64 years, they are not included. So basically it includes the people in the age group of 16 to 64. Basically this is, in this age group, all the people who are employed and all the people who are seeking work, like they want to get employed, they are a part of labor force of the country. So total of employed as well as unemployed people. So everybody in your family who is employed, or everybody in your family who is looking for some work, like who is available for work, who is seeking work, is a part of labor force of the country. Okay, but all the old age people who are above the age of 64 years, but they are still looking for work, or they are still, there are people who are retired. Any professor, let us suppose, is retired from a university, but still that professor wants to serve in private to some people, or maybe he just wants to continue working because he doesn't want to sit idle. He or she doesn't want to sit idle. So that person will not be counted in the labor force of the country, because then it is his or her own choice if he wants to or does not want to get employed. In counting the labor force of the country, we only take this particular age group, 16 to 64. Okay, so this is how children below the age group of 15 to 64 years, 16 to 64 years are included, and below that age, below the lower limit and above the upper limit, they are not included. If we see the labor force participation rate in our country, that is the ratio of labor force to total population. And what is the total population? How do we define that? The total number of people who reside in a particular locality at a particular point of time. So if we see that the labor force participation rate of the country as per 2011 to 12, like for example, you have a family of 5. One member in your family is working, like, and earning a living, and the other member in your family is seeking work, like looking for work. So in your family, the labor force participation rate would be actually 2 by 5. The ratio is 2 is to 5, and if you convert it into percentage, so 2 is 2 upon 5 into 100. So how can we apply the formula? It is total labor force upon total population into 100. So the labor force participation rate in your family would be 2 upon 5 into 100, which is 20 to 40%. of your family is a part of the labor force. Okay, so this is how labor force participation rate is calculated. In India, if we talk about 2011 to 12, it was 55.9%. This rate does not tell us exactly how many are working. This only tells us in total, how many are working plus how many are not working. This does not tell us separately how many are working. So LFPR in India was to 55.9% if we talk about 2011 to 12. That means around 56% of our population was either working, or and some of them must be a huge number who were not working and unemployed. If we segregate this rate into urban and rural areas, we get 49.3% people in urban areas as working. So not even half, not working actually, just labor force participation rate. It means only half, not even total half. Like approximately half of the total population in urban areas is either working, like either employed or unemployed, or together employed and unemployed. The rest 50% are actually dependent on those 50% who are either working or looking for work. Actually, they are dependent on the ones who are actually working. So the remaining 50% is neither working nor looking for work, does not want to work. They can be people below the age group of 15 years. They can be people above the age group of 64 years. They can be people in the age group of 16 to 64 years who doesn't want to work. So this is how labor force participation rate we take out. We have to take the labor force above, population below. Below this we will have total population of our country, and then we are going to multiply it by 100. And if it is coming out to be 49.3, it means all these people are either employed or unemployed. And in rural areas, obviously, because their condition has to, you know, it actually compels them to do some work. So LFPR in India is higher in rural areas. So out of the total in this case, we are only going to take the total population of urban areas. So in the total population of urban areas, 49.3% is labor force. In the total population of rural areas, 67.7% is labor force. It means 67.7% people in the rural areas are either working or looking for work. And if we segregate it for males and females, we get this: 79.8% males were working or looking for work, and 31.3% females were working or looking for work. That is, not even 1/3 of the females were either working or looking for work, and the remaining all, approximately 70% females, they are all dependent on the male members, obviously, or maybe the other females who are working. So this is the situation of labor force participation rate in 2011 to 12. In the next class, we will compare it with, we are going to compare all these numbers for males, females, urban areas, rural areas with the situation pertaining to 2017-18. It was again released by Business Standard in a report. We are going to look into that. Till then, just go through all the concepts, revise everything, and make these notes. Only this much is required, whatever I have mentioned in the slides. Take care, all of you. God bless you. Thank you.